All right.
Okay, so I think why don't we get started? Again, just a little bit of housekeeping, everybody. Hi everybody who's joined us. Um, Regarding the questions and everything, the chat box doesn't like people writing in it during webinars for some re weird reason. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to say hello, if you want to do anything, please just use the Q&A box. I'll be monitoring it, so you're free to add in anything. You know, it can be just a hello or questions. We'll go through them when you want. Do feel free to ask questions as well, because I'm sure Simon will be more than happy to answer them. Hey, David. Um, and yeah, so I'll hand over to Simon now. So yeah, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. And hello, everyone. So today's topic, we're going to look at how to get the most out of your Google Search Console data. Now, everybody's likely familiar with Google Search Console. It's such a fantastic tool. It offers data that no other tool can. No third-party tool is ever going to be as good as Google Search Console data for the thing that Google Search Console is best at. So things that we see sometimes we get questions about like, oh, I'm using this tool or that tool, and how come it's not showing me all the keywords that I'm ranking for? And I say, well, it doesn't matter which tool you're using, whether it's Dragonmetrics or another third-party tool. Nothing is going to be as good for finding which keywords rank your site is ranking for than Google Search Console. So first-party data from Google Search Console should always be your one-stop shop, unless you don't own the site. If you don't have access to Google Search Console, then of course that's where third-party tools come in. There's plenty of usage for those, but Google Search Console has things that no other tool has, such as what keywords are you getting clicks and impressions from, because no other tool has that data, and no other tool should, because it's going to be private between the searcher and Google. So the problem is that with all this great data in there, the challenge is how do we get it out? Because the interface is not as friendly or as advanced as we might want it. So there's things that we can do, and that's what we're going to be looking at today to kind of maximize the Google Search Console data. Now, I'm going to show it to you in two different ways. Essentially, we're going to look at the hard way to do it, and then the easy way. The easy way is using Dragonmetrics' new Google Search Console feature. This kind of automates a lot of the more advanced features. When I say advanced, I mean the things that are complicated to do, but every searcher, every SEO would want this data for. I don't mean advanced meaning like, oh, it's only a niche case or something like that. No, it's things that are hard to do in the Google Search Console interface, but everybody wants and should do. And a lot of what we're dealing with here is to get a lot of, you've probably seen people talking about this. A lot of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be filtering. And the best way to filter, the most advanced way to filter is using something called RegEx, or regular expressions. So I'm not going to explain, this is not going to be a lesson on how to use regular expressions, but we should at least mention, what they are and how they're used. So regular expressions, it's kind of like a programming language. It's not really. It's just a way to match, what a string of text essentially. This is a regular expression that we're going to be learning later today. It is a mess. Looking at regular expressions just looks like you. Whoa. 1 second. I wanted to give an example by slamming on my keyboard, and I messed everything up when I did that. Serves me right. So what I wanted to say is by slamming on your keyboard, that's kind of what regular expressions look like. Sarah, give me a thumbs down if you can't still see my screen okay. But I'm going to carry on assuming that people can still see my screen. It looks like nonsense gibberish. You can use some tools that can help you identify and help write them. So this tool I like, it's regexr.com. This one's really useful. And you can highlight each character and it can tell you what each one is doing, but it's very esoteric. The nice thing is, us old people, back in the old days, we actually had to learn regular expressions and how to use them. The great thing now is, in most cases, you don't have to learn regular expressions because The new LLMs are so good at writing regular expressions, you can just describe what you want, and a lot of times they can write it for you. So I would probably recommend, unless you really want to dig into the code, if you need to do something that we're not covering today, ask ChatGPT or Gemini or another program to write the regular expression for you, and it's actually pretty accurate most of the time. Now, I'm going to save you even from that, because just having the regex is only half the battle. Let's dive in and look at the first thing that we want to do here. So when I'm looking at all my queries, one of the best sources of keyword research is your Google Search Console data, and a lot of people don't realize that, don't see it that way. And because it's tracking up to many maybe like I've seen like position 200 in here showing. Can I see this? Well, that's only 94. Okay, but still keywords that you're not really ranking for, but you're getting an impression for here and there, that you might want to target still. And so by mining this for good keywords to target, it's really useful. So the first thing I want to look at is getting question words. These are prime topics for writing blog posts or things like that. So we're going to paste in our first regular expression, and it's going to show me all the questions, the who, what, why, where, when, how, and many more. All we do is we go to custom regular expression, matches, and we paste in this thing. I'll give you a quick summary of what this is. So what this one is we put all of our question words inside here, and I'll paste it right in here so you can see what's going on. We got this character that says, match it only if these words are at the beginning. The parentheses puts all of it in a group. And here's the list of things that we want, just a list of questions. And this pipe character says or. So any keyword that starts with who or what or where or when and all these other ones. And then finally we say if it has to be a word boundary, meaning a space at the end, because sometimes if we have why could be why ever. I guess we would still want that, but there might be other words that start with how. However, we wouldn't want that, so it has to be a word boundary. So that's the kind of thing that we're doing here with the question filter, and that works. Then it also works for other languages too. So if you have, say, well, I don't want English, I want another language. All you have to do is swap out those individual words for a different language, and it will work the same way. So here we're looking at Spanish. Let's do another one. Paste that right in there. And there we go. Here's all of our Spanish question words. Now, I said that I would show you the easier way to do it, and that's what we're going to do. So after every hard way that we're going to look at, we're going to look at the easy way too. So jumping in here now to Dragon Metrics, looking at this interface. If I go to queries, that's going to give my queries tab. And first off, I can see a big improvement. We can see 50,000 keywords inside Dragon Metrics. Even though it's Google Search Console's data, Google Search Console will only ever show you 1,000 keywords. So you're not getting the full picture. So using another tool, either the API, which is hard, or using a tool like Google's, like Dragon Metrics to extract those, it's going to give you a lot more data. So in Dragon Metrics, if you want to filter using a regular expression, that's absolutely possible, but almost never necessary. Because what we can do is say, filter question queries, one click, 10,000 queries right there. So much easier, so much better. This is the easy way to do it. And so here's all our question marks. Now let's compare that back over to here one more time, because there's even more limitations that you may not expect inside Google Search Console. Thing is, with 10,000, we only see 1,000, but we know there's 10,000 in there. I want to query this more. Okay, so we say add filter. Let's add a query. And oh, wait a minute, it pops this one back up again. I want a new query filter. Google Search Console is not going to let you do that. You can only filter by query one time. If you want to filter the list down further, it's just not possible. With Dragon Metrics, you can say, let's filter our questions that contain the term ghostwriter. So they're ranking for a lot of those. Okay, so now here's all my question words that contain the word ghostwriter. And you can stack it even further. The ones that are talking about legality, so let's add legal. So now here's my question marks that contain the word ghostwriter that also contain the word legal. And that's the power of this. Or I think ghostwriting was what I was looking at earlier, but it still works the same way. So there's ways to leverage that data to get even better stuff than what you can get here in Google Search Console. Okay, but that's question words. Let's move on to talking about how can we filter by keyword. Well, filtering by keyword is super, super easy. All right, we can say query contains X, Y, Z, whatever. That's all we have to do. But what if we wanted to do branded terms? Now, for this particular one, they just have one branded term. Right, so if I do this, it's going to pull up all my branded queries. Very quick and easy. Most sites don't work that way. You have many different branded terms. So if I was Nike, I would say Nike and Jordan and Air Max or things like that. All your trademark terms, you want to have all of those as branded. So how can you do that? We're going to learn a new regular expression. This one is actually pretty easy. All you have to do is add keyword 1, and then the pipe character, it's shift, and then it's usually above the enter or return key, and then keyword 2, and then keyword 3. And so you can put all your branded keywords right in there. So I'm going to do one that isn't their branded terms, but we're going to say regular expression contains so or nations, or here's this one right here. All right, so now we're going to say anyone that has any of those will now be in there. So this one, pretty easy to remember. All you have to know is that pipe character. It looks like a long L or something like that. Now in Dragon Metrics, we make it a little bit easier too to do branded queries. In fact, you can just click one time, compare branded versus non-branded, and you're going to get the data just like this here. So now I can see all my branded queries versus your non-branded queries. So this is a comparison. And you can do that in Google Search Console too by comparing. So instead of hitting filter, I'm going to say compare. So this is very simple. We're going to say custom regex matches, and the same thing does not match. So branded versus non-branded. It can be the same expression as long as they're polar opposites. And there we go. We can get branded versus non-branded here, but they don't actually, Google Search Console omits those keywords when you do it that way. But of course, in Dragon Metrics, we will show you what those branded queries and non-branded queries are when you do that inside the platform. So that's branded versus non-branded, and just filtering by a list of keywords that contain. But sometimes what you want to do is not just keywords that contain, you have a specific list of keywords that you want to look for. And that's possible using this one right here. So maybe I don't want to say any keyword that contains this. I want to see just these keywords, nothing else. And that's what this one is here for. So replace key 1 with keyword, whatever your first keyword is, and so on and so forth. And you don't need to just have 3. You can just keep adding more pipes and then more keywords. So then you just come back over here, go to query, contains regular expression, keyword 1, pipe, keyword 2, keyword 3, hit apply. I'm not going to explain what all those other things do, but now we can see your traffic for just a set of keywords at a time. And that's really, really useful because maybe you just want to see the exact match. These keywords, which pages are they ranking for? There you go. Now in Dragon Metrics, of course, we don't make you learn that on your own. So let's remove all of our filters right here. No, remove. Okay, now let's go back to 16 months. Now I'm just going to go filter by list of keywords. And now we just put a comma separated list and I hit apply. And there we go. Now we can see the top pages. We can see the top devices and countries and all those things just for a list of keywords without having to know any sort of regular expression. So I really like that. Now what's even more useful is lists of URLs. because that's oftentimes, if you want to filter by a subdomain or a subfolder, super easy to do. You go into page and you can say URLs containing www.example.com or something like that. You can do that, or you can do a certain subfolder. But what if you say, nah, I don't want an entire subfolder. I just want these 5 pages, but there's nothing common in the URL structure between those 5 pages. What do? There is a regular expression for that too. And if you have careful eyes, you can see it's actually the same one as keywords. So we can reuse that in here too. You just have the caret, which here we can very quickly go through this one. The caret means at the beginning, has to start at the beginning, right? And then a list of the first URL or second URL, and then the $sign means at the end. So because we have beginning and end, that's an exact match for the entire query string. So let's go in here and I'm going to put in my regular expression that has that. I'm going to paste it in here so you can see, right? So here's the entire URL. Be sure to include the HTTPS, the www, and the exact trailing slash or no trailing slash. It has to be exact because that's what we're saying right here. Now we'll say URLs matching regular expression, just those pages. And here we go. So now I can see all the keywords that just those pages are ranking for. Very good. Dragging metrics, of course, we're going to make it more simple. So you can put in a comma separated list without having to mess with any of that. So we just go to filter by list of URLs, paste, just URL 1, comma, URL 2, comma, and so on. We hit apply. Oh, that's the queries report. Probably didn't actually want to see that. There we go. So now here's all the queries that just these pages, just those 4 pages are ranking for, and we can see traffic over time and things like that here. Now here's one other limitation of Google Search Console, that look at all those jaggies up and down when you look at a long period. You can't smooth them out. In Dragon Metrics, you can say smooth that out by week or smooth that out by month. And that just looks a lot nicer to me than like that. Now, if you like that, that's fine, but that's not my style. So I find it much more useful to do that. Now, are there any limits? Are there any caveats that we should be careful of here? Yes, there are. Google Search Console has a limit of how many characters you can have in a filter. So if you've got long URLs, and if you say, I want to see these 500 URLs, they're totally disconnected from each other, there's no subdomain, no subfolder, let me just paste in these 500 URLs using the regular expression Simon gave me. You're going to get an error. Why? Because there's a maximum of 4,096 characters that can go into this. So it's not unlimited, the number of URLs. You might have to split it up into several different queries when doing that. Okay, let's look at maybe a couple more. And that is, let's look at long queries. Have you ever wondered all the weird things that people are searching for? Let's take a look at what those are. So long queries, here's where things get really esoteric. You can use this one. I'm going to paste it right into the filter to say, whoops, by query. This one will show me the queries with at least 70 characters. Now you can change that by just changing whatever 70 is here. And by the way, you don't need to screenshot this. We'll be sending this out, the list of regular expressions here, so you don't need to memorize it or type it down or screenshot anything. Or you can say number of words. Something with 7 words is like that. Now here's all the weird things that people are searching for that are super long. Here's extracting 7 words or more. And you can do that for whatever you want in here. So going back to Dragon Metrics, how do we do that here? Keep it nice and simple. We go back to queries. Once it decides to think about it. And we're just going to click filter long queries right there. In just a couple of seconds, we've got all the queries that are long without having to know the regular expression. And then the flip side of that is short queries, looking for less than 10 characters. These are going to be, the shorter the query is, likely the more valuable it's going to be. Search volume is usually going to be higher, and so we can see just the ones that are short, or we could do ones that are a specific number of words. Instead of less than 10 characters, we could say, 1 to 2 words. So we're doing one more, see what that looks like. I must have typed in something incorrect. I'm going to double check what that is, why that didn't work. It was working 2 seconds ago. Well, gonna double check that one before we send it out to everybody. But luckily, we can go into Dragon Metrics and say, we're not gonna worry about that. I'm gonna filter by less than 10 characters or less than 3 words. And that should work as we expect there. So it works fine in Dragon Metrics. Something must have gone wrong when I copied and pasted this framework expression in my preparation today. So sorry about that. Okay, so that's what we can do here. Using these comparisons, using these filters, we can really extract more in different types of things. But there's so much more that we can do, and so much more functionality that Google Search Console is hiding us. So I'm just going to run through a couple more features that Dragon Metrics offers that you won't get in Google Search Console itself. One of them is click-through rate. Now, for every keyword, Google Search Console shows you your click-through rate. But you want to know in aggregate, when I'm ranking at position 1, what's my click-through rate? When I'm ranking at position 2, what's my click-through rate? Dragon Metrics will calculate that for you, all right there. And the fun part is you can actually see how that's different for every segment. You can do desktop versus mobile. You can do branded versus non-branded. You can do this month versus last month, last year. So I can come in here and say, how's my click-through rate changed? Click-through rate curve changed this year over last year. Any two things that you want to compare, you can do in here. Because like we saw, you can't stack filters in here. What if we can compare desktop versus mobile? I say, okay, let's compare desktop versus mobile. Great. But if I want to compare, not device now, but I want to compare country, you can compare US versus UK. That's not a problem. But if I want to compare the US desktop, sorry, it's going slow with my clicks. Compare, don't click again, Simon. All right, Philippines versus India, fine. If I want to say US desktop versus UK mobile, that's not possible here. You need a third-party tool like Dragon Metrics. So now you can filter by anything. You can say filter by desktop in the States versus mobile in the UK. So by doing these more advanced comparisons, you can really unlock more data in the platform. And then finally, the last thing now that I'm going to show is that if you're a Dragon Metrics customer and you're using the platform, you can actually match this with other data from the platform. So the tracked position and the monthly search volume from Dragon Metrics compared with the impressions and average position in Google Search Console. So that's a quick look at some of the ways you can pull out data in Google Search Console. I'd love to handle any questions that anybody has here. Sarah, do we have any questions?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Yes, we do. So from Alex, we have, how accurate is the query data for GSC? For example, queries never quite add up to the total clicks. So I wondered if anyone actually knows what percentage of these are ring-fenced.
That is a great question. I was thinking about including it, so I'm so glad you brought it up. Let's do one of these filters here, and I'll show you. This is a new thing that Google, I think it's new at least, maybe I missed it, but Google Search Console has started reminding you of this limitation. So let's put that back in there. There we go. Look, chart totals and table results might be partial when filters are applied. What in the world does that mean? Okay, what that means is that in the chart, when you run a filter, this data is accurate. So the aggregate data is always going to be accurate. But if you export this list, even if you go into Google Search Console or Dragon Metrics and you download your entire list, and you add up the number of clicks, you say, whoa, 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 whoa. These two don't add up together, the aggregate numbers to the table data. What is happening is Google is hiding some data from you. So that's what they say here. The table can show a maximum of 1,000 rows, so some rows might be omitted. Yeah, you think? When viewing by query, anonymized rare results are omitted from the table. This is a big one. This is what they're saying is that if you search for something really random or you paste in a password into the Google search box and somebody chooses to or ends up ranking for that, they don't want to then put that password query in your Google Search Console account. So what they say is if a query is too rare, if not enough people have searched for this query, we anonymize it, meaning that we're going to show you that yes, you got an impression or yes, you got a click here, but we're not going to share the actual query with you. Now, how many queries are being omitted in that? The quick answer is we don't really know. The more detailed answer is that it's different for every single site, and every site's going to be different, and every industry is going to be different. There have been some studies out there, so I think even Ahrefs did a study out there where they put together an estimate of how many queries that they think are being hidden, and sometimes it can be substantial. It could be like 30%, I think, is what that is. So that is a limitation of Google Search Console data. You can get around it somewhat using BigQuery, but that is a whole other can of worms. And we have a webinar about that as well.
We do, and you can find it on YouTube, actually, if you're very curious. We've got one final question from Ilya, saying, what is the limit for this URL filter character-wise?
Okay, and so by the way, just a really quick plug for the rest of our webinars. If you want to go back and watch this or check up on any of the other webinar series, the trainings that we've been doing, including the one for BigQuery, just go to youtube.com, Dragon Metrics, and you can pull these up right here and watch them here. So definitely recommend doing that. Now, the question, the limit for the URL filter, I am not 100% certain. What I showed you is I said 4,096. That is the limit in the Google Search Console API. I can pull up the documentation right here. So using the API, let me see if I can find, yeah, there it is. Max length is 4,096. That is for the entire filter, and that is using the API. I have not actually tested it in the interface. I am sure Google has some sort of limit, and I assume it's the same limit in the interface as it is via the API, but I have not personally tested this. I would say as a safe point, don't do more than 4,000 characters. That's still a lot. That's still a lot.
Perfect.
But keeping in mind, it's not exactly 4,096 because that means that's every character in the entire API request, the filter request. So if you're filtering by country and device and these other things, every single part of that filter counts as a character in that. All right. Any other questions that we have, Sarah?
No, we don't. Does anybody else have any questions? No, I think everybody's quiet.
All right. Well, certainly if you guys have any more questions, you know where to find us. You can reach out to us by email, or if you're a Dragon Metrics customer, or even if you're not, you can go to the Dragon Metrics website and jump into the live chat and send your questions that way. We'll make sure that it gets to the right place and we'll answer it that way. Or leave a comment on our YouTube page once this goes up.
Yeah, if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be amazing. There you go. My little plug. Okay, well, thank you very much, Simon, for that. That was really, really interesting. For those of you who have joined on the recording, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be in touch regarding the next session soon, which is going to be on data analysis.
Thanks everybody for watching. Talk to you soon.